But Aaron Rodgers spoke at 3 o'clock Eastern Standard Time to the media for the first time since obviously the Jordan Love draft pick that happened. Now, nobody knew what was going to happen in this draft or in this conference call with Aaron Rodgers. Nobody knew. What you could have guessed is anytime you got old whites trying to use modern technology, there will be some technological errors. For instance, somebody was playing bongos on their phone and it was interrupting every fourth or fifth sentence. We listened live here at the house or at the office because GreenBayPackers.com or whatever had it streaming. So aside from the technology errors that were happening with the people that were on the call, whether they were muted when they were supposed to ask a question and got skipped over, or they were typing into their phone when it was on loud. Other than that, I think Aaron Rodgers handled this thing as good as he possibly could. Mm-hmm. One of the first questions was, what was your immediate reaction when Jordan Love was drafted? And this is what he had to say.
Just your general reaction. I mean, obviously, first time publicly stating, when the Packers drafted Jordan Love, what your thoughts were and handling the competition.
Well, I think I was watching the draft. I was watching the feed with AJ Hawk and Pat McAfee and I think the general reaction at first was surprise. I think like many people, obviously I'm not going to say that I was thrilled by the pick necessarily, but I understand the organization is thinking not only about the present but about the future, and I respect that. I understand their focus and their mindset, and obviously they thought that he was such a great talent that they needed to go up and get him. So, I was, like I said, generally surprised, but it's what those guys are paid to do, to put together a roster for now and for the future as well.
Okay, so obviously one of the pressing issues for why Aaron Rodgers was doing said conference call was to not only talk about the season coming back, but everybody wanted to hear what Aaron was going to say about the Jordan Love draft pick. He obviously gives us a shout out. That particular sentence was left off of all of the other news. Shefty tweets out what he says, leaves out I was watching with AJ, Pat, and the boys, ESPN, CBS, you name it. Everybody left off that particular sentence. So now are we picking and choosing what we're reporting on?
Interesting.
Well, that seems to be pretty interesting that we're just picking and choosing what part of the quote gets to be said. But I think he handled that 100% right. It feels like he's in a position where he is past it. He's like, hey, there's nothing I can do. He said on numerous occasions that Jordan Love didn't decide this. He wasn't the one that put himself in this position. So he'll try to help out Jordan Love as much as possible. The more questions he has, the more answers I have, said Aaron Rodgers, just like he did with Flynn and Kaiser and all the other backups that he's had. I think he's in a good state of mind. And a lot of people have talked about how in there he did not promise that he would retire a Packer. And it's like, well, he had promised he'd retire a Packer. And then in this press conference, he said, if my retirement timetable is on the same timeline as the team's, then I'll retire as a Packer. But if not, it seems like I will have to go elsewhere, which is what a lot of other quarterbacks has done. He was just keeping it real 100%. And I don't think there's anything wrong with anything that Aaron Rodgers said. He played it very well. He was very open about, hey, yeah, I was surprised. I did not expect that to come. This is kind of what we got to do. We had a special team last year. He rattled off basically every one of his teammates throughout that entire thing. Aaron Rodgers seems like he's in a good place, in a good state of mind, and now he's playing for that next team. His next couple of years, he's just playing so he can go have his best football somewhere else. A la Peyton Manning breaking every NFL record once he left the Colts and went to the Broncos because Andrew Luck was sitting there. Is that what Aaron Rodgers is going to do? We have no idea, but I like that conference call. As a Packers owner, how'd you feel about it, Ty?
Well, like you mentioned, I think at this point you kind of just have to accept it. There's nothing that can be done. I saw a lot of people were saying, Packers fans are the only ones that can change it. It's like no one can change this. It is what it is. If hopefully he'll be able to finish his career out with the Packers, but they're not going to sit Jordan Love for the next 4 to 5 years. The writing's on the wall, so you kind of just have to swallow it.
Aaron has been working out more, he said, because he's been home. Yep. He said he's gotten a lot more throws in. There's a field down where he's been playing catch with people. He thinks he's in much better shape than he's ever been at this point because you got to remember, Aaron doesn't have children. He's in the middle of this quarantine, kind of locked down. He escaped Peru at the beginning of this whole thing. Mm-hmm. He's just been working out. Him and Danica, I assume, been getting after it, yoga stuff. Aaron Rodgers is going to have his best self this year. Aaron Rodgers is probably going to come back and have his best self again next year. What does that mean for the Packers and for Aaron Rodgers' future? Nobody knows. TBD. I wish I was on that call, though, because I would have said some things, that I think maybe he would have wanted to be said, but I can't speak for him because I'm not Rob Demovich or whatever. Demovsky. What's his name?
Bob Demovsky.
Bob Demovsky. By the way, he got a question in there. Brady Papinga didn't. Who wins? Rob Demovsky.
He got 2 in.
Yeah, he got 2 questions in there, didn't he?
It was refreshing to see, too, that the media didn't really because anytime he does something like that, his words are always getting twisted and people are finding a way to vilify him, and it was nice to see that.
Is that because of us?
I think you could make that argument.
Is it because of us? Because they know that if we're watchdogs for Aaron Rodgers' reputation.
Yeah.
Because I think he's a guy, just like Jay Cutler, by the way. Whenever they want something to be seen bad about him, they'll do it. When they want something to be seen good of him, they hide it. That was kind of how Jay Cutler's career was. Feels like Aaron Rodgers kind of get treated the same way, but I think he handled it like a magician because there's a lot of tough things to say there. He says one wrong thing, there's a potential blow up for the next 2 months about it. Mm-hmm. He was on there for 45 minutes to an hour, just answering questions, doing whatever he had to do. We did not stick around for the LaFleur interview afterwards. Had 2 now, 1 out. We were thinking, did you figure out how to call a game in the second half, LaFleur? That's my first and last question. Is that going to help Love? I don't know. Is Love going to be better? You ask me. But I like where Aaron's at. It seems like he's in the proper head spot.
Yeah, and like you said, and kind of the narrative that's coming out, I think he might have his best year of his career this year.
I think so, too. Mm-hmm. Who's he throwing it to?
Guys like me.
He's got bunches and funches, too. Fun and chefs anytime you put those together.
Lizard.
I thought he handled that press conference, Zoom conference, very well, by the way. It just like you said that he would do, and I assume everybody was like, he'll say all the right things. He did. He even stated some truth in there. He was like, listen, I was shocked by it all. And a lot of people are reporting what he said, but they're leaving out the first sentence. The first sentence of everything that he said. And I don't appreciate that. I don't like, whenever you're getting left off of things, like, I'm mad, but I speak for you, and you're like, when we're both left off, I don't like the way that plays, my friend. No way.
Yeah, like I don't mind like when I'm left off of anything really, but you're right. Like when it came out of his mouth, like, well, I was watching the stream with Pat McAfee and AJ Hawk on their show, and that gets left out of everything. Then I'm like, you know what? That is what are we doing? We're like, okay, selective journalism.
Are we just picking and choosing what everybody gets to hear? He said AJ Hawk, Pat McAfee, and even the boys. The boys even got a shout out in that thing. Aaron. What about these guys? Cut to a close-up shot of one of these guys. Look at that face there, wearing a Duquesne D on his forehead. You see that kid? He's worked his entire life to create something that maybe he'll get credit for. That guy has not created a lot of things that he's wanted to take credit for. That kid's not smart. He's not that intelligent. He's not that athletic anymore. But he was shouted out in the middle of a press conference by Aaron Rodgers, and guess what? ESPN just snips it off. They say that guy with the D on his face, he doesn't need this type of credit. That guy doesn't deserve this type of credit. And I say, bullshit. What about the guy in the back there with the mustache? Think about that kid right next to Diggs. Yeah, right there. That guy went to school for 45 years. He's using none of his education at this point. He is a single man. He's got a dog named Walt that chases down trains. He has a gang called a shot gang that nobody knows exists. He gets a shout out from Aaron Rodgers, and they cut it off. This is the American dream. What about that guy? Owner of the Green Bay Packers. He's had to sit through this entire thing, not only as himself, but as Mad Mel Kiper. He gets a shout out on a Zoom press conference by Aaron Rodgers. What do? Fucking cut it out.
God damn it.
Next person, please.
They didn't cut out Zito. Zito's been shouted out enough on national television.
Not too much.
But what about that, AJ? What about the boys getting cut off of all these people? Unbelievable.
I mean, that's what I'm upset about. You're right. Maybe they'll run a retraction. You think? Those always work. A lot of people see them.
I went right into Schefter's post on Instagram. I was like, pretty convenient, leaving off one particular sentence that was right before here, and everybody was like, selective bullshit media bias. And I'm like, it's not that serious. Everybody's thinking it's way too serious.
Well, look good, feel good, play good.
Play good, pay good, live good, die good.